Hello, welcome to Black, White, Gray, Yellow. I know many people out there are skeptical of all the misinformation circulating about, as we all should be. But I don't want our response to all this misinformation to be an unhealthy level of paranoia about all information. That's a really great way for people to start only trusting the information that feels right, which is exactly how we end up falling victim to misinformation. Well, that doesn't feel right. So, in this video, I want to go over a tool that can help. On a serious note, I do want to emphasize that this is a tool that can help, but it is not a one-hit kill against all misinformation. A lot of the most sinister misinformation out there today is so dangerous because it can survive simple tools like this one, at least for a long time. But this is a fundamental skill that does a lot in its own right and upon which many more advanced skills are based. In military terms, this ain't no Patriot missile, but it is a good companion like your M4. Delightfully, it is also a tool that is used to solve a lot of logic problems. So I'm going to use a logic problem as an example to show you how it works. Don't worry, I'm going to give you a timestamp so that you can skip the example if you still have 5th grade PTSD. Ugh, Mrs. One thing I want to emphasize though is that knowing how to pick apart the logic of someone's misinformation is not the same as knowing how to effectively communicate with someone that they are wrong. So at the end of this video, I'm going to go over how to talk to someone you want to correct. Because remember, this channel is all about communication. Trying to navigate your way through all the misinformation today can feel a lot like finding your way through a maze. It's hard to tell the difference between the right paths and the wrong ones. You don't know which paths to trust, and there are a lot more wrong paths than right ones. But just like with solving a maze or a logic problem, you shouldn't be expected to know the right answer right away. That's why there are tools to help solve them. With a maze, as with logic problems, the tools come down to exploring and learning how to eliminate all the dead ends. It's funny, we know this with a maze, but we tend to forget it when it comes to information. You can't explore an idea while refusing to think about it any more than you can know that a path leads to a dead end without going down it, physically or with reconnaissance tools. I'll tell you exactly how I'd solve a maze. With a hedge mower. To solve a maze, you systematically explore all the avenues, eliminating dead ends until you get to the right answer. Mower is way more fun. If you think there's more than one right answer, you keep systematically exploring until you find all possible right answers. The simple way to do this in practice is just to keep one hand on a wall and keep going until you either reach the exit or where you started. To solve a logic problem or sift through information, we do the same thing. Just keep exploring all possible options and eliminate the dead ends. So, what's the tool we use to do this? Just keep asking and answering the question, what if? Yes, exactly like the Randall Monroe book. Bet your 5th grade teacher didn't teach you that. Okay, let's try this out with a real logic problem. If you want to skip this example, go to this timestamp on the video. You can also go here if you'd rather just figure it out yourself. Okay, you have 3 baskets, and no, you can't look in any of them. I did realize when I was trying to set up visuals for this that the premise is a bit ridiculous, but it's for the purpose of training our brains to think more logically, so bear with me here. In one basket are lemons. In another basket are limes. In a third basket is a mixture of both lemons and limes. Are you sour about this problem already? The problem is, each basket's label is on the wrong basket. Your challenge is to identify all 3 baskets by only choosing one piece of fruit from one basket, still without looking in any of the baskets. So, what's the solution? I don't know. Well, I didn't either when I first heard this problem, but I'll walk you through how I figured it out. All we have to do is keep asking, what if? Again, if you want to skip the walkthrough, go to this timestamp on the video. First, let's identify what all the possible solutions are. Thankfully, we were given in the problem that we're only picking one piece of fruit, so the options are pretty limited. We're either going to pick one piece of fruit from the basket labeled lemons, pick one piece of fruit from the basket labeled limes, or pick one piece of fruit from the basket labeled mix. That's it. And excitingly, we can be sure that one of those is the correct option. We just have to figure out which one. So let's ask what if for each of them and see where we get. All right. What if we pick a piece of fruit from the basket labeled lemons? Okay, well, it's either going to be a lemon or it's going to be a lime. We also know that because the basket is mislabeled, that the basket is really a basket of either all limes or the mixed basket of lemons and limes. So if we pull a lemon out of the basket labeled lemons, we know it has to be the mixed basket. But what if we pull a lime? Well, then we aren't sure. It could be either, and that's a gamble. The question is phrased in such a way that makes us think there's a definite answer, so let's put a pin in that. Maybe this isn't the right basket. What if we pull a piece of fruit from the basket labeled limes? Okay, well, again, we know that that basket is really either the basket of all lemons or the mixed basket of lemons and limes. So if we pull a lime from the basket labeled limes, then we know for sure that it's the mixed basket. But we get the same problem where if we pull a lemon, we still aren't sure. We would need to pull another piece of fruit to get more information, and the problem tells us that we can do this by only pulling one piece of fruit. Surely it couldn't be the mixed basket we need to pull from, can it? Our brains tell us that the mixed basket can't be the right answer because surely picking either a lemon or a lime out of a basket of mixed fruit is useless information. But that's part of what makes this such a great logic problem, because the correct answer is disguised. Let's ask, what if? It's okay if it's not the right answer, we're just exploring. Remember, that's the power of this tool. Okay, well, what if we pull a piece of fruit from the basket labeled mix? Well, again, it's either going to be a lemon or a lime. But what are your real options? Because we're told that every basket is mislabeled, that means that the basket labeled mix is actually either the basket of all lemons or the basket of all limes. Hang on a second. So that means if we pull a lemon, we can confidently say that this is the basket of all lemons, and if we pull a lime, we can just as confidently say that it's the basket of all limes. Hey, we're getting somewhere. We haven't hit a dead end yet like we did with the first two baskets, so even though we haven't fully solved the problem yet, let's keep going with it. Let's say we pulled a lemon out of the basket labeled mix, and therefore concluded that it's really the basket of all lemons. Okay, now we still have two more baskets left to identify and no more fruit left to draw. True, but okay, what do we know? One of those baskets has to be the basket of all limes, and the other one has to be the real mixed basket. We also know that one of those baskets is going to be labeled lemons, and one of those baskets is going to be labeled limes. Once again, we're told that all of the baskets are mislabeled. That means that the basket that's labeled limes can't be the real limes basket, so it must actually be the mixed basket, which just leaves the basket labeled lemons to be the basket full of limes. Hey, we did it. But we made an assumption, remember? We supposed that we pulled a lemon out of the basket labeled mix, but what if we had pulled a lime instead? Go ahead, pause right now and work through it. Yes, you! Rewind if you need to. Look back through how we solved the problem if we had pulled a lemon out of the basket labeled mix, and prove to yourself that it works either way. You're really making me do this? But this is YouTube. I'm not in school. I don't come here to do school. What is this? Man, I don't think when you ask me to think. I think when I want to. And right now, I don't want to think. Talk of limes, I want a margarita. So, yes, whether you did the exercise or not, and it is actually kind of fun to do. It makes you feel good when you get it. The correct answer is that if you pull a piece of fruit from the basket labeled mix, you have all the information you need to correctly identify all three baskets. Nothing's left up to chance, it's just logic.
Okay, Diana. Other than driving me to drink, though, what does this stupid logic problem have to do with your channel? You said it was all about politics, religion, and relationships.
Right. Well, I promised you a tool to help fight misinformation. Far too often in any of those arenas, politics, religion, and relationships, people like to think for us and tell us what conclusions we should come to. I know, you're shocked. Often they mean well, and many times they're right, but they can be mistaken, and you are more empowered against misinformation if you're able to check the logic yourself. If they mean well and are just wrong, they may appreciate you correcting them and showing them how you figured it out. If they don't appreciate the correction, then, well, they're probably embarrassed. This is what I wanted to tell you about how knowing how to correct someone is totally different from knowing how to pick apart their argument. Whenever you're correcting someone, it makes a huge difference to the conversation if you give them a graceful out. What does that mean? Give them a chance to put the blame for the mistake somewhere else. For example, dude, somebody lied to you because that doesn't make any sense, see? Then show them what you see, but don't place the blame on them. Maybe you believe it really was an honest mistake. Maybe you don't. But I can demonstrate that it's better to treat them as though it were, whether you believe them or not, by once again asking, what if? What if you assume it was an honest mistake? You're either going to be right or you're wrong. If you're right, they might be really grateful that you didn't make them feel bad about being wrong, like you totally could have. If you're wrong and they really had some agenda and were trying to drive you to the wrong conclusion, what are they gonna do now? Throw a temper tantrum? Keep trying to convince you that you're wrong? Maybe, but will that even work on you now that you know the logic? If they're really a sore loser, maybe they stop talking to you, but if they're really a liar, maybe you're better off. I really don't see any negative outcomes here. But what if you assume that it wasn't an honest mistake? Again, you're either going to be right or you're wrong. In this case, if you're wrong, you might have just ruined that friendship, or at least damaged it. And even if you're right, calling someone a liar, especially if they are a liar, but oftentimes even if they aren't, backs them into a corner where they either have to accept what is often horrifying embarrassment of admitting that they were lying, or even just admitting that they were wrong. Spoiler alert, almost nobody chooses this. Or you escalate the situation so they feel like they have to fight their way out of that corner, and now they're not only trying to convince you of whatever it was for the same reasons they had before, now they're doing it out of a sense of self-preservation too, or at least the preservation of their pride. Congratulations, you've just made sure they never agree with you. Diana, this is starting to sound like another episode. I'll wrap it up here today, but the takeaways are this. 1, don't be afraid to ask what if. It doesn't mean you agree with whatever you're what ifing, it just allows you to examine it more closely. And 2, help other people see your new way of thinking, but give them graceful outs when you want to correct them. This will make them more likely to come to agree with you. Or maybe they'll present their own argument. If you aren't careful, you might end up having a civil conversation. Nope, we're done. Not having that. I wish you luck. That's it for this episode. If you like this video, please give it a like. And if you like this channel, please subscribe. Give me your favorite logic problem in the comments, or tell me about a time when you gracefully corrected somebody. As always, please keep the comments positive and constructive, and I'll do my best to respond. Thanks everyone. Until next time. My name is Diana, and this is Black, White, Gray, Yellow.